Hi, this is Paranormal Encounters, and I'm your host, Brenda McGee. Today, I have a very special guest. He's been here before. He's my right-hand man, Steve McLaughlin. Steve, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on, Brenda.
Just so we tell everybody, we are on the same team, SNE Paranormal Team, so we do a lot of investigations together.
Yes.
And the reason why I wanted to have you on again, Steve, is because there's a lot of stuff happening right now, and I needed someone who I knew knows what's going on. So do you want to tell us anything? Or
There's a lot of activity lately. I think a lot of it's doing with occult, Ouija boards, New Age things. People are losing their focus on where they should be focusing, which is on, well, I'm Catholic, so I base my thing on Catholicism, is on their faith. And with a lack of faith, then the darker side starts taking over. And they think they're playing games like Ouija boards or on an investigation, or they'll do EVPs, which I never do away from an investigation because it opens up doorways that they're starting to come into pretty strongly.
And just so everybody knows, EVPs is electronic voice phenomena.
Yes.
Which is the recorder.
Which it also opens up a doorway.
Right. Because I tell a lot of people that when we investigate, we're asked to go into a place.
Yes.
And so it's not like we're summoning someone. There's already something there.
Exactly.
And we're just getting validation on the recorder to prove to them who this person is.
Yes, when I'm at home, that stuff stays in the bag. I never use it unless I'm going over evidence. I don't make any contacts unless I'm at someone else's house. Because as you know, those are open doorways, so if they're getting a contact, it may not be who you think you're contacting.
Right.
And something else is going to come in, and it gets pretty bad from that point.
Because that's how they start off, is they'll say, I'm your Aunt Margaret.
Aunt Martha, yes.
Or Aunt Martha. Or something like that, and then you're like, okay, how would they know this? But that's the difference. They know all of this stuff beforehand.
Yes, and they communicate pretty well. A demonic entity they talk to each other, and they share information, and they know things. They know your life, they know your relatives, they know the information. They can start off as an older person or a young child or an animal we discussed before, because you think that's going to be safe. Who's going to be afraid of an animal or a little child? And then they transform.
Right. Because a lot of people will see them as those, spirit child.
Yes. Oh, isn't that cool?
Oh, is it? Oh, they don't mean us any harm. They're just visiting or something like that. Yeah, no. It's not like that.
I think the big thing is when they say, I need help.
Yeah.
Well, we got to help the little child spirit, but that's not who it is.
Right. Well, we know that, and that's another reason why I wanted to have you on, is because a lot of calls have been coming in because the activity has heightened big time. And
yes.
I mean daily calls, daily text messages, private messages, this is happening. And most of them that are experiencing is the children.
Yes.
A lot more. So
because the children are more trusting.
Right. And more open.
Yes, exactly.
But thank God most of the parents that reach out are accepting of things, and they're like, yeah, this isn't right, we need to call somebody.
Yeah, like imaginary friends.
Yeah.
Little Bobby has an imaginary friend. Well, it's probably not imaginary.
Right.
Well, there's a monster under my bed. That it could be, because they would hide in a darker place. They like to attack when you're sleeping in your dreams, when you're vulnerable, when you can't resist it. I mean, I know you've had things with dreams as well with people, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's not fun. And lately, honestly, things have heightened, and usually, they don't bother me at home or whatever because I don't allow that. But lately, the lights are going on by themselves, and you need to physically have a remote or whatever to turn it on. We've checked the batteries and things, but stuff like that. A lot of people are saying their lights are going on by themselves, things are moving, and I don't know what your take is on that, but I feel like I live on a very haunted street, and lately there is so much havoc on that street, I don't even enjoy being there anymore.
And all that introduces negative spirits as well.
Yeah.
Like emotional causes, fighting, yelling, emotions. It opens up doorways for them. They live for that.
Another thing is I love horror movies.
Me too, my favorite.
But also, I mean, I saw that movie Lights Out, and honestly, it was very creepy, but I understood it. And I always take something away from those movies. Like, some of them are, they're exaggerated and stuff like that, but I love how they're starting to make the stories of like how this happened, and like I was actually questioned on how did that happen? How can that happen? And I tell people, anyone who is going through something emotionally or going through something, they're not all right in the head sometimes.
Yes.
That's when these lower energies find their way in.
They like misery.
Exactly. And it's almost like they act like they're angels, but they're really not.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what scares me, is because a lot of people are being deceived. And that's another reason why I wanted you here, because I know you can validate most of this, because you go to church, you do this, but yet you are gifted also, and you see.
Yes, I can.
Lot.
A lot of times, like, you'll say that this family needs help, you'll text me or call me, we'll talk about it. And then when I start trying to help or pray, I can see, as you can, what came in. Mm-hmm. And they're saying it's a little boy, and I'm looking, no, it's not.
Right.
Because I can see what it is, and it's not a little boy. It's usually a demonic force.
And a lot of people have disconnected in faith-wise, because either they lost somebody, they get sad, they get into depression, and then they lose their faith because why did they take them away from me when I needed them the most?
Exactly, yeah.
So a lot of people I've given prayers to do and reconnect them faith-wise, and they're seeing that, wow, I can do this. I don't need somebody to do this for me.
Yes. And if it's your own house, you have the authority to do it.
Right, and a lot of people don't realize that. They think they have to call in paranormal teams, which we do love doing investigations, but we try to avoid that. We try to make the people, see if you say this prayer, if the activity stops, or if it doesn't stop, then we'll come in. But you need to get people to have faith in something again.
Yes, exactly, and that's the bottom line. And that's what's happening, is that faith has gone a lot today, and it's almost like a line's being drawn to make a choice. Which way you're going to go, and it's almost like being tested, like we talked about before.
Now, you said you've been having some activity also.
Yes, I was praying for a person that was dealing with an issue, and if I do that, I'll get a lot of pushback from the spirit, because it doesn't want me to do it. So 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, I get a loud knock on my door. I live alone, so I get a loud knock on the door, and it's not. That's usually 3 o'clock. A knock, that's a warning.
Yeah.
Which is good, because then I know I've helped someone. Otherwise, they don't care.
Right.
But if you push back on them and they get angry, that's, I think, the point where people get afraid of, is if they're going to respond, they get afraid of that, but there's no need to. They only have enough power over you that you give to them.
Right. Another thing that aggravates me is I've been getting a lot of calls because people watch paranormal shows and then they feel that they can do clearings and things like that. And they've heard people say, if you do this or if you do that. That is really scary, because a lot of times, a lot of the calls that I've been getting, I have to say the activity is off the charts, just from those people going in there, and then they're crying and calling us because they need help.
Yes.
So people need to stop doing that. I get aggravated with that.
Yes, and if you're trying to cross a spirit over, I'd say probably 9 out of 10 times you're doing that, there's a demonic spirit holding them back.
Right.
And deluding them. And if you get involved in that, you're going to have consequences for it. If you're not prepared to deal with it, it can be dangerous, very dangerous.
Right. So don't.
It's like I might get a knock on the door, or maybe something trips in my house, or I trip somewhere. Mm-hmm. But if we're called to do it, if you're not supposed to be doing this, and you get involved with a demonic, they can do a lot more damage than that. It gets pretty scary.
It really is. And some cases that I've had, they've had these people come from another country to do a blessing. Like, they'll pay for them to fly
Okay.
from another country. I'm not going to say who or where, but they do that to come and do it, and it has made things even more worse. And then they fly back to their country and leave everything
all askew down.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's almost like the people that people are trusting, it's sad, but they're making things worse, and that's what gives people a bad name.
Yeah, I agree. It's like an investigation. Whenever we do an investigation, if there's a spirit, we'll help cross that spirit over.
Right.
So it's going home.
Right.
So when we leave, everything's clear. But so many go in there, they get the evidence they want, they leave. You might have a spirit that we talked about that didn't know it passed. And someone's saying, I mean, when did you die? And then now you're leaving and they're all confused. Where before they were just kind of ignorant of everything. Now they've got to deal with an issue and you're gone.
Right.
And it could take years before someone helps them out.
Right. It's so frustrating.
It is frustrating.
It really is. I try to talk to everybody and just give them like positive feedback and just try to. We have access to the prayers. If anybody needs help, you can email me at paranormalencounterstv9@gmail.com. We have no problem sending prayers to people. That is what I've been doing, and it's been helping. And it's people don't need to get these special people to come in to do this. They should get someone who knows. And it's hard to find that because anybody can Google house clearings or whatever, and you don't know. You're just that desperate.
And there's more involved than if, such as Brenda gives someone a prayer if it's not working and they contact Brenda. We have people that can help remotely. We don't have to be there,
right,
but we can help clear from a distance as well.
And I know, like, once I get that phone call and they're starting to talk with me, I can review their home from the phone. It's called remote reviewing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I know if I need to just give them the prayer or if I need to, when I get in touch with you and say, hey, I need you and Tom to pray for these people, the address and all, then you know there's something really going on. But the cool thing is that we don't have to physically be there.
No.
That's why I tell people we do it all over the place. It doesn't have to,
Yeah, the power of prayer, it transcends any time or distance.
And I say that to people. If you don't want us to come in or whatever, we can do it remotely where, it's like a distance, but it's still as powerful as if we were there physically.
And there's so much help. We had talked about angels.
Yes.
You have guardian angels. It's angels that guard your city, and they're so willing and waiting to help. Just an ask and it's done. They're right there to help.
So now, when we do blessings, Steve, do you want to tell them what we like to use and what they can use also?
Yes, when we do a blessing, we use, my favorite is frankincense and myrrh incense that's blessed by a priest. A lot of the things we use are symbolic because a demon, I think, is an angel that fell from heaven. So they have a hatred towards God and his creation. So when we use something that reflects back to God, like frankincense and myrrh were gifts to the baby Jesus when he was born, so that's symbolic. They don't want to be around that. It reminds of what the decision they made to leave and the pain they're having. Holy water is the same thing. Holy water represents the pureness of God. So when they encounter that, which is why baptism is so important, because when you get baptized, you get into water, you come out different. They can't follow through the water,
right,
and they will avoid the water at all costs because, again, it brings it back to that day when they made that choice to leave.
Right.
Holy or blessed oils. They're not sacramental oils, but they're blessed oils. I have some attached to saints' relics. And a lot of the saints, they can intercede for us and help battle.
Right.
That's what they do.
Right.
And a lot of prayer.
And I'm telling, the audience this is what we use. It's not something that they could use because a lot of times it's hard to get those articles. And plus, the prayers usually will work.
Yeah.
It's when there is a demonic entity that will not leave and it's really causing havoc, and that's when we come in and have to use all of those items.
But as we discussed, the basic things they can get is frankincense and myrrh incense.
Yeah, I love that.
Blessed is important if you can do it, because then that becomes a sacramental,
right,
which they have an aversion. They don't want to be around it.
Right.
Holy water you can get at any church. When the church is open, it's always in the back. They have a big vat of it. and you
Right.
can take. And that, I use twice a day, I bless my house, morning and night. I bless it twice. And a little spritz, I have it in a little spritz bottle, spritz it. I say a prayer, please cleanse this house, protect us from evil. I ask the angel in the area to help me, and it's simple.
Yeah.
If you keep doing that, they're not going to want to be around it.
Right. No, that's perfect. And, I was explaining to someone, because a lot of people ask, what is the different spirits that are out there? And, because they think that if they're like shadow people or whatever, I'm like, that doesn't mean they're all evil. Sometimes they'll portray themselves as a shadow. Most of them are not good,
Yes.
but I always tell them, I don't want you to feel that once you see it, because sometimes it could just be something going by and it looks dark, but it's just, out of your peripheral vision when
Or
it
if
goes
they didn't
past.
have the power to manifest themselves completely,
Right.
it could be a shadowy figure.
So I always tell people, and a lot of people think that, it's the house that's haunted or whatever, and a lot of it is the energy that you have in your home.
Yes, and I found that most times demons haunt people, not necessarily the house.
Right,
So if you leave thinking, I'll get out of the house and get out, they're probably going to follow you.
right. I always tell people, it's just nothing to mess with. Even one of the cases that we had was when somebody was trying to contact a loved one, but what they were saying is they were using one of those EVP recorders, and they were saying, if there's any spirit here, could you please communicate with me? So now they're summoning, and they became obsessed with doing EVPs. And I told them, no. Even, like you said earlier, we don't do it at our own homes. We don't want to, use any of the recorders or anything like that.
And what do you think one of the main forms they choose is when they're appearing to a person? A demonic spirit.
A demonic spirit, usually like a child.
Yeah.
A child, or mostly children.
Yeah.
Almost always. I could say 98.9%
Yeah, it's amazing.
is a child, or like an elderly person.
Yes, a loved one. Yeah.
Or even, like we said, an animal.
Yeah.
A dog, a cat, a wolf, anything like that. When they see that, they'll say, oh, my spirit animal. And I'm like, yeah, no.
And their main working time is usually like between 12 and 3.
Yeah.
And mostly 3 because what they're doing is they're mocking the Trinity.
People call it dead
yes.
time
Yeah.
or anything like that. But
3 o'clock because they're mocking the Trinity. They're mocking God.
yeah, so usually when you're
When
the activity
yes.
will, but I tell people, you can have activity during the day and things like that, but when you have that, I said, and mostly demonic things are in 3s.
Yes.
Three scratches.
Exactly,
knocks.
because they're mocking the
Yeah,
Trinity.
yeah.
Exactly. It's amazing. Yes.
It really is.
Yeah, it's.
But it's heightened. I don't like this.
Yeah, it's the activity is incredible lately. I think a lot of it is because you said with the faith issue, they're not focusing on their faith. They're focusing on other ways to try to get knowledge,
Right.
like through the Ouija board, or they want to think it's cool to contact spirit, or go into a graveyard
Yeah.
and record things there, and they don't know what's on the other side.
I tell them only do it if you know what you're doing or you're with someone that knows what they're
Yeah.
doing to open or close or do prayers or anything like that. But a lot of times it's like you don't belong in a cemetery with a Ouija board at nighttime when you're not supposed to be there. You're just asking for trouble.
And a lot of times they'll say, well, I'll get the Ouija board and I'll burn it. And no.
I tell people that. Don't burn it.
Don't burn
Break
it.
it up. Bury it.
Because, when you open a doorway, if you burn that board, the doorway's still open.
Yeah, it's like you're releasing things
Yeah.
also.
Exactly. Then it's free.
Yeah. These movies portray things.
Don't they? Yes.
They
It's
really
amazing.
do. I mean, like I said, some of them I have to say have been, like I said, some of the things are far-fetched, but even The Conjuring 2, when I saw that, like that was based on a true story. And it made sense. And it's like I know people are afraid to watch things like that, and I know some people believe that if you watch a horror movie, it's the same thing as summoning or you're inviting people have said that to me. Well, I don't watch horror movies because I don't want anything to negative or bad to happen because I'm watching this. Have you ever heard of that?
I have. And another way they do things is they will distort the truth. They'll give you half truth, half lie, so that you can't make a proper decision either.
I never thought of that. Yeah. Because a lot of people are saying, no, I don't. How can you watch horror movies like that's not good? And I said, no, it's a movie.
Yes.
But honestly, some of the things you learn from.
Yes. Right.
And some of the things when I watch it, I'm like, thank you for making this movie because people are going to be aware of it.
Yes. And fears are always from the evil one.
Yeah. But that's why we have to educate people, and this is another reason why I do the show, is to educate people and hopefully get the word out that, you don't have to live with a ghost or spirit or energy, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, a lot of times a spirit that's trapped, it needs to go home. It may not know it's past.
Right.
It may not be able to do what it needs to do. And if we can help it, a lot of times if you have a spirit, even your prayers can free that spirit to go back home.
Right. So it's sad because a lot of, spirits are earthbound, but there are a lot of teams and a lot of people who don't cross the spirit. They investigate and they keep it there.
And they leave.
And then they leave. And to me, that makes me so sad.
It's kind of cruel.
It really is. And I took a spiritual warfare class with Father Bob and Rob, and they said the same thing. Cross those spirits.
Yes.
Help them cross. They give you the prayers to do it.
Yes.
And for them to do it, it's just having people, you have the power to do this. You just have to do it with faith, with an open heart, and just because they're spirits doesn't mean, that they don't want to be there.
Yeah. I mean, in my faith, we have a thing called the community of saints, where it's people who have passed, people alive, people that are already crossed over. But the people that are already here, we can help those cross back over.
Right.
I think it's a responsibility to do it.
Well, that's why people, they know how to do that. A lot of times, if I'm in a house or whatever, I'll pray and call on a family member to come meet them. So then they know, hey, okay, you can go with them. They know somebody.
And that's an awesome idea.
It's like, don't just tell them, go into the light.
Yeah.
It's like, no, bring a family member or
Yes.
someone that they loved. You call on them to bring them, and it's beautiful.
Yes, that's an awesome idea. Someone they know.
Right.
And then say, come on. What do you mean, come on? I'm happy here. No. You're past.
Do you realize how long you've been gone?
It's been 100 years now.
It's only been 2 days. No, it hasn't.
Yeah, because there's no concept of time over there.
No. And unfortunately, they just live day to day like nothing's going on.
Yeah, doing the same things. I was at a house, and Anne-Marie, I was with Anne-Marie, she's my wife. We were sitting there, and she's watching this person, and she goes, I see someone down there. And this person's been probably deceased for a while. It's her landlord during the same property. And I saw him, and I described it, so we saw the same thing, but he doesn't know. You can tell he has no idea that he's passed.
Wow. Did you cross him?
He hasn't crossed yet.
Oh, because he doesn't have any idea.
He has
Because
no
sometimes they don't even see you, but you
Yes.
can see them, so it's like they...
So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I pray for them to have the realization, and that when he does, that he can help cross over. Because I hate to have someone realize they're deceased and then be trapped, and now they know they are.
Yeah, true.
And I mean, they're people.
Yeah, even though they're not in human form,
Exactly.
their spirit, their energy, they're, one of God's children.
And I never remembered a really, really happy spirit. I don't know if your encounters, but I never met one that's really joyful. Yay! I'm a spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, some of them are like, what's going on? What happened? And that's sad is when they've passed tragically, or they've passed and they didn't know it. Those are the ones usually that are, earthbound, or they stay here. But a lot of times they want to be here with their family.
Yes.
So it's like a grieving process. So I always tell people, you can tell them to go, but they can come back at any time.
Yes.
So
Awesome.
tell
You're
them,
reading my mind.
give them your blessing to go, so they can go into the light, but they can come right back. You're not going to never...
With knowledge this
Yes,
time.
you're
Yes.
not going to never see them or anything like that, and that's what people don't understand.
Yes.
So I tell them, you know,
It's an awesome point.
tell them that it's okay. It's okay to go. You don't have to stay. I'm going to be okay, but you can come back when you want.
Awesome.
Right?
That's an awesome point. Yes. Another thing to make it further is when they're here stuck, they don't have a lot of power or choices. When they pass on and come back, they can help you.
Right.
Because now they're fully realized and they have the knowledge they need to do things.
I love that you said that. A lot of people don't know that, and it's the truth.
Yeah, because then they can actually interact with you more. They can help you. They can intercede for you.
And that's what I say sometimes. A lot of times they can't help you in the physical, but when they get in the spiritual world,
Yes.
there's a lot of things that they can help you with spiritually. So they don't stop being with you or helping with you or guiding you through life.
Exactly.
That's what they do.
And then when they cross over, they can help even more because now they see what's going on and they have the energy to do it with.
Love it. Well, Steve, guess what?
Already?
We're running out of time.
Unbelievable.
I thank you so much for being here. And if anyone has any activity or any questions, you can email me at paranormalencounterstv9@gmail.com. And thanks for watching.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Brenda.
Steve.